What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, what's moving it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So NIO is up 3.8%, 539 the low, 570 the high, and 43.7 million shares being traded. 53.1 is the average. No macro data from China. You do have, as per usual, NIO moving through algorithmic trading, largely because of American data. Nothing really concrete from NIO today, so no press releases, no SEC filings. So everyone and their dog is just waiting for their upcoming earnings, and there hasn't been any change. Normally, you see some analysts changing estimates leading into the earnings. This time, I think analysts are kind of pretty content with some of the ratings that they do have. Over the weekend, I do plan on doing a little bit more of a deeper dive into kind of some of the key metrics and what Wall Street's really going to be paying attention to. Only thing that really came out, in my opinion, that's worthwhile to bring up, different from that came out since my last video, was this. So William just saying that there's pretty much growing demand for the ET9. So I think generally that's good. Market loves to hear those types of operational updates, but there really wasn't anything concrete. So I think they have a lot of big things to bring up in their upcoming earnings, which could really push NIO higher, right? I think generally for the EV sector, it's the future guidance. That's what Wall Street's been largely caring about. At the time of doing this video, you see shorts returning 2.1 million shares. Now looks like it's 1.83 million. So of course, with that adjustment, most likely, that's kind of the reason why NIO went down, because going from 2.1 million to 1.8 signals that shorts did increase a small amount, but still overall, shorts are returning today. 11.46% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 158.5 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow minimum back at being positive. So that does signal that things are normal. Whatever brokers out there that were paying people to short NIO, they seem to have stopped momentarily at least. But I think overall, shorts have really done some significant damage to NIO. So we went from around 10.38 or 36% to the high of, it looks like 10.65 for the short interest. So I think shorts, by them returning today, kind of does validate that today's green day is justified. Although, if we look at some of the transactions on the secondary market, you're not really seeing that much institutions buying the dip or even propelling NIO higher. And it's not just NIO. I've done many videos on a lot of different stocks. It's all the same type of scenario playing out. So today's kind of rally, in my opinion, could be artificially done, but no different than what I've mentioned in previous videos. I think just what really prompted this crazy sell-off was algorithmic trading. So it was largely getting suppressed, and then that certain level of suppression eventually turned to real fear. So essentially, I'm not too worried about today's green day being artificial, but nonetheless, 3 transactions that are sells, 1 is a buy. On a side note, I do realize I go over a lot of different data points. If you ever have any questions about anything that I've mentioned, feel free just to kind of drop a comment. I'd be more than happy to kind of bring it up in that video, or if a lot of people were in the comments, but if a lot of people have the same type of question, I can always bring it up in my weekend video. But aside from that though, looking at the options, 5.26 million in calls, 2.4 in puts, and then 53% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. Expected move for NIO's upcoming earnings is now only 8.19%. So that's been going lower and lower. That does work out to be like a 46-cent move in either direction is anticipated. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 6 to 650. So oddly enough, this is the most optimistic options have been in a while, which is rather crazy. So the week of their earnings, you see a little bit more of a recovery. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 5. So you kind of have that back and forth. With today being Friday, this is the open interest. So you do have 24,000 at that 5, 20,000 at the 550, and then 37,000 at that 6. It would have been advantageous for it to close above 6, but given everything, if NIO is able to hold these levels, so roughly around that 560 or even just above that 550, then you will see these in the money. So 24,000 at the 5 and then 20,000 at the 550. So things could heat up potentially going into next week. Aside from that, these are some of the transactions that did occur so far on the dark pool. Given how active shorts are, it is fair to assume that all of these transactions are linked to them. Aside from that though, with it at 561, it is trading between this S2 and this S3. So 544 is going to be a strong support, kind of bounced off of that general area. So 539 with a low. And then 611 is that next strong target / resistance. So that's going to be a point to watch for early on next week. Aside from all of that though, on the actual chart, even though the market seems to be very hyped up on the actual chart itself, it's still not crazy. So it is still below that 100-day moving average, so wedge bound between that 100 and 200. So I think in general, going into NIO's upcoming earnings, it really needs to get above that 100-day moving average, and better yet, above that 10-day moving average. But aside from that though, there really hasn't been that much in articles coming out associated to NIO whatsoever. No new analyst ratings. Of course, that'll change going into by the end of next week because of their earnings, but it's just largely piggybacking off the broader market. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Are you buying? Are you selling? What are you doing with NIO? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.